Good morning, afternoon, and evening. I am recording here for the third time. The first two times didn't really work out. I ran into a couple bumps. Hopefully this one's going to be quite a bit better. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to build your very first platform game, two-dimensional platform game using GameMaker. Now, GameMaker is a free software. You can download it let me bring it up here and I'll show you. Go to yoyogames.com. Up here in the right hand corner you're going to see a download button. Click on that. You can choose to either download GameMaker Studio for Windows or download it for Mac as well. GameMaker for Mac looks just a little bit different. They work a little bit different, but for this example I'm going to be using the GameMaker for Mac version, but it will translate into the GameMaker for Windows version because I actually use the Windows version more. So once you download it and install it, it will look something like this. On the Windows version, it'll have a dark theme instead of this brighter theme, but it will be essentially the same. You've got your resources over here and ways to add resources up here at the top, and this is your working station right here. So for this game, the first thing we want to do is add some images. So we're going to add an image, or it's right here, this little Pac-Man guy, and call it Sprite Player. Now they call them sprites in games. That's usually the term used for two-dimensional games for the art in them. So we're going to click Edit this sprite, click on the image, double click on it actually, and I'm going to make this guy blue, which I found out looks kind of purplish in my screen recorder, but who cares. Press the green check mark. We're just going to do a square for now. Press the green check mark again and center this guy so his origin's in the center. If you're an artist, you can get more extensive with this. Obviously, you know, your game's not going to have a box for the main character, but just for the sake of this example, I'm going to teach you how to program and not really how to do art. So you'll want to click this little transparent thing, or uncheck it, I mean, because that just says, is there a transparent color in this image? And there's only one color, so you don't want that to be transparent unless, I guess unless you're making like the Invisible Man game or something, then maybe you'd click that check mark. But for now, we don't want that checked. We want it to be not transparent. So press OK. Now create another sprite. We're going to pretty much do the same thing. This is going to be called Sprite Solid. And we're going to edit this sprite, double click on it. I'm going to make it a dark gray just so you can tell the difference. Maybe this gray right here, so it's not so dark. And press OK. We don't want this one transparent either. You don't have to center this one though. The origin can stay where it is. Press OK. So you've got two sprites. Now we need to make some objects. Objects are used to associate with actions, or to associate actions with those sprites that you have. So up here there's like a blue bowling ball, or I'm not sure what it looks like on the Windows version, but it'll say create an object. Click on that. We're going to type in object player. Right, and put in your player. Oh, that's just selecting the sprite so that the program knows what does this object look like. Well, we want it to look like this. And we'll press OK. We're going to create another object, click in that bowling ball, and we'll name this one object solid, and we'll give it the dark sprite. Now this one we want it to be solid because we're going to be colliding with it. So there's a little checkbox here for solid. Just check that and press OK. Now up here next to the blue bowling ball there's a little white box which is create a room, and that just is essentially where we're going to build our level. So click on that and it's going to bring up this screen right here that's got your kind of your level over here that's kind of gridded off, and then over here you've got your objects. So first thing, let's go into settings and name this. I'm just going to name it room level 1. Don't mess around with the width or height right now. You could put something in the caption like best game ever or something, and don't worry about anything else. Come over to the objects again. Now we can start putting some objects in this room. So the first thing I'm going to do is, if you hold shift you can kind of draw these in. I'm going to draw in some objects, and I'm not going to make this too fancy, but this is our level. You might get really fancy with this, but I'm just going to show you really fast how to build a quick level. So you'll put those in and then put your player in. Let's put them right there, and I don't know, maybe I'll put a wall over here so he's not. So for some reason there's a wall over here on this side of the room. I'm not sure why. Maybe the goal in your game is to get over this wall. I don't know. For now I'm just putting stuff in there. So we'll press the green check mark again. And now that we've created our room, and let's save this game. Come to File, Save. You can name yours the best game ever. I'm just going to name it Platform. Save that. Oh yeah, I'm going to overwrite it. Okay. You can actually run this game right now. You can see it's going to run. Problem is it's not going to do anything. Your guy's going to float there. Nothing's going to happen. So let's close out of it and let's put in some programming so this game does something. I guess the first thing we want to do is there are collisions in platform games that are kind of complicated. So I've written a script that will actually do the collisions for you, so you don't have to worry about that part. You can look into that if you want to and kind of try and figure out how I did it. It is rather complicated. But for now, just in the description, you'll see in the description under this video, there's a link. You can download these scripts that I've written. I'm going to do that right now as well, just to make sure we're using the same scripts. Okay, so we'll want to import these scripts. So go up to the top where it says Scripts, Import Scripts, and Scripts. In your downloads, you'll see Platform Scripts GML. You'll import that. It'll bring these little scripts over here on the side. Okay, and we're going to use these, but you don't have to worry about what they do. So come over to your player, and I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit. So this is your player object. There's events and there's actions, and events are like, oh, something happened, and the action is like, you know, what now? Like something happened, but what do we want to do about it? So first we're going to create an event. Down here you'll see that Add Event button, and we're going to select the Create event. Now the Create event is actually an event. You're not creating an event. This is an event, and it just happens when the object is created. So right at the start. So this would be where you'd maybe set your players' lives or whatever, like stuff like that. But for now, all we're going to put in here is, if you'll come over here on the side, you can see, click on the Control tab, there's going to be a section on code, and there's going to be Execute Code. You just want to drag that into the Actions section. You'll see that's in the Actions section now, and we're going to type some code in here. I'm going to just type out the code and kind of explain it right after. So I'm putting these two in just to tell that we're doing code. I'm going to tab over if place free x. Oh, sorry. I'm doing gravity already. I'm getting ahead of myself again. So in here we just want to put in my script, which is just platform collisions create for the create event, and inside these two parentheses here you're just going to want to put a max speed for your player. So this would be like worst case scenario, how fast is your player going to go. For this example I'm going to put 16. I recommend putting 16 as well. The higher the number this is, the more processing your computer has to do if your player's going to be moving really fast. So I prefer 16. It's a good number. You can press check, the green check mark. All this code does is just run my creation script, which just sets up some collision stuff that you don't have to worry about. So press the green check mark. Now we're going to add a new event, and this is going to be the step event. Don't worry about begin or end step, just do the normal step. Now step event runs during the game constantly. It actually runs, in this case, every 1/30th of a second. So grab your code again and drag it into the actions for the step event. Now inside here, we're going to want to run one more script. So put those in, press space over, get those curly brackets in so we know we're in code. It's going to be platform collisions step, right? Create for create event, step for step event. Inside here, you're going to put what object we're looking to collide for. So we're going to put this object solid because that's what we're going to be colliding with, right? Object solid. Okay. That's great. So we've got collisions in, but the game still won't do anything because that just checks for collisions, but nothing will actually happen. So first things first, let's set a gravity. I'm going to type this in and then explain it afterwards. We're going to use an if statement. if place free x, y plus 1, curly bracket, 3, gravity equals 0.5, else equals 0. Okay, if you've never done any coding before, you might look at that and be like, oh my gosh, I don't know what any of that means. That's okay. So this is just an if statement. So we're saying if this condition is true, then do this. If not, do this. So gravity in a game works a little different from gravity in real life. Gravity in real life is always pulling down on you. However, in this game, the gravity, we only want it to pull down on us when we're in the air. So this right here just checks if we're in the air, if place free. We're checking to see if there's anything under us. Well, actually, if there's not anything under us. So if there's not anything under us, right, if the place is free right under us, then set the gravity to 0.5. If it's not free, set it to 0. So it's set up in an XY coordinate system. The Y system is backwards, you'll notice. X is normal, like positive is to the right, negative is to the left, but the Y is backwards. Negative is actually up and positive is down. So let's actually run this and see if that works. Whoa, game has been changed. Let's cancel. I don't want to hit new game. So let's run this game, see if our gravity and collisions work. Yep, you can see he actually dropped down from that spot and stopped on the ground. That's awesome, but we can't move or anything. If you press any buttons, it's not going to work. So let's put in some more code. What I'm going to add now is I'm going to add movement, right? And for this example, we're going to use the arrow keys. So we'll do another if statement. If, now to check to see if an arrow key is pressed on the keyboard, you use a function called keyboard check. And a function is just like a way of checking something. So keyboard check and VK right. Whoa, right, can't type today. So that's just going to check if you press the right key. And what do we want it to do when you press the right key? We want it to move to the right, right? So moving to the right is a horizontal speed. So we're going to set the H speed equal to 4. So we'll move to the right at a speed of 4. We want to end these curly brackets that we started. I'm going to put a space here just to make this look nicer. But so we end the curly braces. Now it's important in code that you do put these parentheses in and the curly braces. You don't have to really worry about those right now, just as long as you understand the general idea. You know, if you're pressing right, move to the right. That's pretty basic. So we're going to put another one in. If keyboard check VK left 8. Whoa, that tab to clear over. 1, 2, 3. H speed equals -4 because we're going to be moving to the left, which is a negative direction. So we should actually be able to move now. Let's go try that in our game. This is one of the fun things about Game Makers. You can just put in some code, mess around with it, see if it works. Oh, it looks like we got an error. So somewhere in our script we've typed something in incorrectly, and it looks like I misspelled. That error will tell you exactly where your problem is. It looks like I just misspelled keyboard, right? Now, if you want to check a code for errors before you actually execute it, there's this little button up here. You can check it. If you press that and nothing happens, you don't have any errors. But if you got crazy stuff going on and you press that, it's going to tell you down here at the bottom that you've got an error at line 14. And it'll put a little mark here so you even know. So that's pretty convenient. You can find out if there's, always do this. Oh, looks good, no errors. We can move on. Okay, let's run this again and see if we can move to the right and to the left. Okay, gravity worked, and we can move to the right and to the left, but we never stop. He just keeps moving. So let's fix that. So what we want to do is add some sort of a friction, and I've got a script set up for this too. So we're going to do that. We're going to do another if statement. If not keyboard. Okay, so I just start going along. So the exclamation point means not, which means, for example, if we're checking the keyboard, that's normal. This is going to check if we're not pressing a key. So if not, keyboard check VK left. That just stands for virtual key. We're going to do two and signs, and that just means we've got another condition we want to fulfill as well, and both of them have to be true in order for this to happen. So if not, keyboard check VK right. So if they're not pressing the right key and they're not pressing the left key, what do we want this to do? Well, we want to set some friction because they're not pressing anything. So we don't want to move. So 1, 2, 3. Let's do platform friction. Now I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure that the first value is how fast we want the friction to slow you down. So let's just do 1. And the second value is just we're setting it to true. Setting the platform friction. Now we want to do an else statement here again, just like we did with the gravity, because we want this, we only want friction to happen when, we only want it to be on when they're not pressing the key. So we can set this to 1, but set this here to false now so that the friction actually isn't running when they're pressing one of the keys. So I'll explain this one more time. If they're pressing the right or if they're not pressing the right and left keys, set the friction. So we're going to slow down. Else, turn the friction off so they don't slow down when we're moving. Let's try it, see if it works. Hopefully I didn't misspell anything this time. Oh, I must have done something wrong again. Not keyboard, VK left, and not key. Let's see, unexpected symbol in expression on line 18. So let's go figure out what's going on there. I typed something in wrong. This is going to give you a good experience with debugging, but VK right, not, let's see. Oh, I've got an extra parenthesis here. So make sure everything else is right. I'm if not, keyboard check. Okay, left and not keyboard check. It's giving me an error still, and I'm not sure what's going on. Let me check one thing real quick. I want to make sure, because I've changed these scripts a couple times. So argument 1 is the amount and argument 0 is on. Oh, okay. I did type that in backwards. So this one right here is going to be true, and this one's going to be 1. I do apologize. I couldn't remember exactly how I had it set up, so. Yep, should work now. Okay. So, just so you know, I can recap that real fast. What I did is I took out one parenthesis here because I had an extra parenthesis, and I swapped the 1 and the true and the 1 and the false because I had those in the wrong order. But I'll give you a second. You can pause your video here if you need to catch up, retype this in to make it look exactly like mine, whatever. Okay, let's go back in and try that one more time. Hopefully we don't get any errors this time and we can actually run our game. Okay, perfect. No errors. You can see that if we stop pressing it, the player actually stops moving now. Now there's one more problem though. Look, if we move over to an edge and we keep pressing over, he actually moves into the wall. And we really don't want that. So we have to check before we move to see if there's a wall there. So come to the keyboard check for right. We're going to do an AND statement here. And we're going to do place free again. Free x plus 1, y. So we're just checking over to the right of the player, x plus 1, if the place is free before we move. Let's do another one here real fast. Place free x minus 1, because we're going to go to the left this time to check and make sure that's free. I don't want this video to last forever, so I'm trying to be fast, but I want it to be clear for you as well. So you notice that we moved into the wall. This is going to make sure that there's not a wall before we move. And you'll see now we can't move into that wall. However, we can't jump either. So let's hurry and add in jumping, and we are about done with this tutorial with your very first platform game. Okay, one more. This isn't very much code either. So one more thing that we're going to add in, if keyboard, whoa, check, VK up. We're going to check if they press the up key. And we want it to do something if they press the up key, right? So we already dealt with horizontal speed. Now we're going to deal with vertical speed, V speed. We want to set the V speed. I'm going to do -10. V speed equals -10. Essentially, that's just going to set his vertical speed in an upward motion because, like I said, the Y is reversed. So negative is up and positive is down. So let's go see if that works. Okay, you'll notice if you press up, your player does in fact go up. However, you also notice that if you continue to press up, he flies. So unless you're making like your own version of Angry Birds where you can control the bird or whatever, then you probably don't want that. You only want him to jump when he's touching the ground. So let's move back into here. Let's make sure that he's on the ground before we jump. So come right after your keyboard check for the up key, we're going to do an and we're going to do a not place free y plus 1. Essentially, it's the same thing as our gravity, only gravity was checking if there was empty space under us. This is not empty space, so we're on the ground because there's something under us. Okay, one more thing we want to add into this, though, to make sure that this works perfectly, is you want to make sure before you jump that there's nothing right above you, because then you'll just jump into that object. So if there's something directly above you, like you're trapped, kind of squished down, you don't want to be able to jump. That would mess this up. So one more thing we're going to add in is place free x, y minus 1. So make sure that there's space above you so that you can jump. And we're going to press OK. And we're going to run this game and see if this works. And I'm super excited because this is your very first game. And oh my gosh, look how perfect that is. That is so awesome. Your very first game. You're like the future Nintendo developer. Let's make sure that our jumping works under here because, yep, you can see that check to make sure that you can't jump up through that. Make sure that there's space above you before you jump is really important, or it would glitch right here, but it doesn't. So, man, look at our best game ever. That is awesome. You know what? Give yourself a pat on the back. Congratulations. You've built your very first game. If you like this video, be sure and like it and subscribe. Share it on Facebook, whatever. I'm going to put my Twitter in the description as well so you can follow me there. I really appreciate you watching it, and I hope you had a good time. I'll make a second video that kind of tweaks this one a little bit, does a few extra things. You can watch that one. Will be like the part 2, and it'll make your game even better. I might go into some stuff for creating your own kind of better graphics so that it looks a little better. But thanks.